the state capture agenda by falsely claiming that Gordhan had created the so-called SARS rogue unit. Now, he said Moyane was behind attacks against him and caused the breakdown of the relationship between them during the time Gordhan served as finance minister. Now, at the heart of the conflict was the restructuring of the revenue services on the advice of Bain and Company. That's the consultancy firm that was paid 187 million rand to redesign the SARS operational model. Let's unpack the story for you now. Johan Van Loggerenberg was group executive of at least 5 investigative units at the South African Revenue Services at the time. He joins us now via our video link. Johan, good morning once again. Thanks so much for joining us on the AM report. Just to be clear, Johan, you won't be able to comment specifically on the cross-examination of Pravin Gordhan by Tom Moyane today.
Morning, ma'am, and to your viewers. Thank you for the opportunity. It's less a case of I'm unable to, because frankly it doesn't relate to matters that concern me.
Yeah. And also, I suppose in many ways it might overlap with some of the testimony that some of the interactions you've had with the Zondo Commission since 2018.
Well, I'm prepared to say that I did approach the Commission at a point in time some years ago and made some submissions to the Commission.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for that. Johan, I think important to hone in on the issue of Bain and Company. That will no doubt take quite a big chunk of today's cross-examination. Well, hopefully we'll get more clarity into the appointment of Bain and Company, why it was brought in the first place to so-called restructure SARS.
Yes, from the advisory that I saw coming out of the Commission yesterday, Mr. Athol Williams is scheduled to also testify before the Commission today. He's, of course, known as the person who he's, of course, a well-known poet and academic, but he's also known as the person that assisted Bain initially at a point in time to conduct an internal investigation there to establish what exactly had happened at Bain and Company in relation to matters at the Revenue Service since 2014. And we know from what's in the public domain and evidence that's come out since that there had been interactions certainly between Bain and Company and then President Jacob Zuma since 2012, and at least since 2013, a year prior to Mr. Tom Moyane's announced appointment as the South African Revenue Service Commissioner. There had been interactions between himself, Bain and Company, and some members of the Revenue Service, unbeknownst to the Ministry of Finance and the then leadership of the South African Revenue Service. And we also know that some of those interactions related precisely to the intended appointment of Mr. Moyane at SARS and all sorts of plans to restructure SARS for reasons unknown to most of us. And we know that in the course of that, there were interactions between Mr. Moyane, Bain, and some of the people within SARS secretly. This happened completely outside of the public attention. Hopefully we'll get some more light on what exactly was discussed and why exactly it was done in that particular manner. Bearing in mind at that time, Mr. Moyane was still the Commissioner of Correctional Services. And in fact, even as late in September 2013, been on record in an interview saying he was still hopeful that he would continue to serve as the Commissioner of the Correctional Services. And of course, little did we know that there were plans afoot to shift him to the Revenue Service and change everything there. Well, I think the rest is history, because we know how disastrous the operating model that Bain implemented at the Revenue Service turned out to be, and that the Revenue Service is a shadow of its former self. I suppose we'll also come to learn a bit about how it came to be then that Bain and Company somehow managed to get a tender or a contract with the South African Revenue Service in December 2014.
Yeah, that tender to the tune of 187 million rand. I mean, the Nugent Commission of Inquiry into SARS described the roping in of Bain as at best clandestine and at worst, in fact, illegal, even referring the matter to the NPA for prosecution. Bain, for its account, said that it would continue to cooperate with law enforcement agencies here in South Africa, even issuing that statement, I believe it was perhaps a year ago now, coming as close to a corporate apology, I think, as anyone could have imagined. But we've not seen that cooperation from Bain, have we?
No, in fact, as I understand, the managing partner in South Africa at the time, an Italian gentleman, Mr. Vittorio Mazzoni, packed his bags and left the shores, and he's never returned to South Africa. So I think it's unlikely that he will come and account for, for Bain and Company, and it's unlikely, that we'll ever know the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But I think it speaks for itself. Bain issued this apology. To my knowledge, they also offered to repay the fees earned. I'm not sure how that's going. But there you go. You have all these secrets, secret gatherings, secret plans and plots to change a revenue service that was world class once upon a time. None of these things were ever shared with or done openly with the management of the revenue service of the time. And today, every single South African is paying for this in one way or another, if not with the first ever increase of value-added tax by 1% since democracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting if we think back on the Nugent Commission in particular, that in fact Tom Moyane didn't take part in the Nugent Commission. He didn't testify, as far as I know, at the Nugent Commission on SARS. He didn't take that report on review either. I wonder, I mean, how much hope do you have for real clarity finally today as this cross-examination happens?
Well, I'm not certain if the cross-examination will necessarily lead us to the discussion around Bain and Company's role at the Revenue Service. I think perhaps the testimony by Mr. Williams might cast more light on that. And then, I mean, of course, I'm hopeful. We are South African, and I think everybody should just explain what happened, and let's take it from there. I know the matter has been referred to the prosecuting authority. That was announced publicly some time ago. So that might place some restriction on what some parties may wish to say before the commission or not. We've seen that familiar line of people not wanting to incriminate themselves. But I think it's a good thing that the spotlight is shined on that particular aspect, and that people are publicly held to account. I should add, I think it's a good thing that Mr. Moyane has his opportunity to face anything that he feels uncomfortable with, and to cross-examine those that seek to mention his name and that feels he wants to challenge. It's a courtesy he never afforded me or anybody else, virtually from the day that he commenced duty at the Revenue Service. Not during the so-called and now discredited Sekhatane panel process, or the so-called crew on board media statement, or the disgraced KPMG report process.
No, absolutely. It's important that we get all sides of the story. You're absolutely right. I think we'll get more from Athol Williams in terms of the narrative around Bain and Company. Johan, thanks as always for your time so early on a Monday morning. Johan Van Loggerenberg is a former SARS group executive.